Welcome back to Turning Hard Times into Good Times. I'm your host, Jay Taylor, and I'm really pleased to have with me once again Ivan Bebek. He is the executive chairman and director of Auryn Resources, and he has had a very successful career in his young life, still a very young man, at least by my standards, and he's doing it again. I think he's going to have probably an even better success story to put to his resume before he's finished with Auryn Resources. So I'm really glad to have him back with us again today. Thanks for joining me, Ivan.
Thank you for having me, Jay. Pleasure to be back.
It's really good to have you back. Before we get started, I guess I should just tell those that may not be familiar with Auryn, your stock trades in Toronto under the symbol AUG, same symbol down here in the States. You can buy it down here under AUG, as I have. 95.3 million shares. Ivan, I believe that's correct, and around 85 cents earlier today. 86 cents perhaps in New York, and gives it a market cap around 80 couple million or something like that.
Bit more shares out, Jay, because we just financed ourselves literally on the afternoon before this whole crisis started. So we have 105 million shares out right now, and about 15 million in the treasury, with about an $85 million U.S. market cap. So it's a very enviable position to be in financially.
Yeah, 15, that's good. It's good to know that you have that cash, because I think right now, especially given what the junior mining companies have gone through in the last couple of weeks or so, preservation of capital is going to be a very important issue. I want to just ask you, first of all, Ivan, you and your family are well?
Yeah, they are, thank you, and I hope the same for you and yours. My directors, my family, my employees are well. One of our directors and his wife, who are a little bit older than 60, both have fallen ill with the flu, but they're on the recovery now, and they're both doing quite well. They've broken their fevers, and just respecting whether it's the flu or corona, they're not as sure about it. But and I think on that note, I hope you're well, and special consolidation to anyone dealing with coronavirus. The few that have gotten it in a real severe form. It's never easy going through these kind of things, whether they're related to corona, the flu, or cancer, or anything else. And I know more people have to deal with it than before, but hopefully we're on to a path of finding a lot better treatments and getting through it quicker than later.
Yeah, we sure certainly hope and pray that that's the case. I know that this coronavirus is nothing to take lightly. I've heard it can be very, very devastating when people get a bad dose of it, and so obviously that's the case. So we want to respect each other and try to treat each other well by respecting. I think the rules, the laws that are being put in place are for our own best interest, and so I try to do what I can to encourage others as well. We had Chen Lin on our show, actually with a special. I know you know Chen. Chen follows your story very well. Gave out some really good advice. He keeps in touch with the people in China that he knows, and so he brings that perspective. Anyway, let's get on to your story. What are you doing in light of this coronavirus down? And I guess basically you're pretty much shut down now, at least in terms of your what you're doing on the properties, right?
Yeah, as you're well aware, we have 6 projects, and when you're running a portfolio with so many moving parts, you have a real shortage of time to get through a lot of very important factors that can get you better organized, more efficient. So although we're not taking samples today and they're a temporary lockdown down in South America, we are working vigilantly towards getting better organized. We are working towards a PEA on our Canadian homestake asset, which is a really high-grade gold deposit in the Golden Triangle. We look forward to releasing that in the coming couple weeks here. And then once this lockdown lifts, and we don't know how long it's going to be, but not only are we excited to get on planes and get back to work, but a lot of our counterparts that we deal with in Peru are of the same opinion. The communities we work in, the government agencies we're permitting through. So I'd like to think I'm busier now, and if you think more metaphorically, my desk was covered in stuff to do. It's now been cleaned off, and there's a level of efficiency. A lot of corporate activity. We saw some with Semitol getting bought for $1 billion the other day. I think we're seeing the turn of a major commodity market, and this is giving us a chance to catch our breath before we potentially go find some of the world's biggest discoveries that we set out to do about 4.5 years ago. And the last point I'll make there is, money is expensive and it's hard to come by in this space. And having funded, very fortuitously right on the eve of this virus and market meltdown that we saw, got us in a position where we can actually save money and spend more time becoming more efficient and working on more opportunities for our shareholders. So it's been really useful in the silver lining sense of things. And I think you can expect a very active second half of the year for us. I'm reaching to that kind of metric because we have a lot of things that have been in motion for some time, and the catalysts are going to be plentiful. And now we get to work on those versus being on planes all the time, which is great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sometimes that is true. The silver lining, you catch your breath, and certainly for a lot of mining companies, if they do too much drilling and not enough contemplation or thinking about what they're doing, they can sometimes waste money, actually. So sometimes it's good to clear your desk and take inventory of everything that you have going on. And so I guess that while we'd rather see the drills turning down there in Peru, and so I want to ask you, once you're able to get back into Peru, onto your properties down in Peru, how much time do you think it will take before you can start to do some drilling? Because we've been waiting a long time for the drills to turn on your very exciting projects down there.
Yeah, so that's a great question, and by far the most popular question that's been coming through emails and phone calls. I will say this, how do you feel and how does everyone feel in North America right now or Europe that is not able to work and is stuck at home kind of waiting to get back to work? I think that sentiment is most certainly is what we're hearing out of South America as well. And what we're speculating on is potentially a lot smoother process, a lot more efficient to get towards not only getting more access in additional communities that want the jobs, but to get back to work with the ones and get a drill permit in a more reasonable time period. I will say as a caveat, I'm glad we don't have the drill permit today and we're not drilling today, only by virtue of, I think, any kind of major success would be muted by other concerns and crisis events that are going on. And I think capital would be flying out the door when you should be preserving capital. And in fact, I'm going to reminisce a little bit to Keegan. We were sitting at $5.75 per share Canadian, and the 2008 crisis took place, and our stock price went down to 49 cents, and that was was higher than we are today, went lower than we are today, and that was the middle of finding a 5 million ounce gold mine. We stopped all of our drills while we had $8 million left in the treasury. We resumed once the sharp V kind of took place, and we saw the upswing, and all of a sudden, 11, 12 months later, we're trading at $9.17 per share. Now, the difference between Auryn and Keegan is the prize is much, 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 much bigger than Keegan's 5 million ounce mine, what we're looking for. That's the first point. Secondly, we have $15 million. We just completed that funding within a month as we talk today, so we spent very little of that so far, so much stronger treasury and a much bigger prize at the end of the bid there. And, so for me, I've been through this before. I've probably been annoyingly calm, and I'm more referring to the financial end of things. I mean, people say this is more of a natural disaster than a financial crisis, but I remember negative interest rates in Europe and flat interest rates overseas in Asia. I remember there being, a 10-year bull market into the Dow. And, I think that we all knew for the last 12 months there was going to be a major correction, whether this virus came or not. And the only thing I will say, Jay, is we had no chance as a resource industry to compete with the Dow that went up every year for 10 years in a row until today. And so now you see record infinite QE. I mean, can you dream of a better event for gold bugs? There's one other thing that came true as well. We saw a big disruption in supply. We saw the $100 gold swing today with the closing of the refineries in Switzerland. I'm not sure if there's and how that's panned out, but I mean, you can't dream of a better outcome. And then you turn towards the QE and the stimulus packages. And, if you look on the backside of 2008 and what happened there in crisis or financial crisis or, virus driven, I mean, there's going to be a lot of major infrastructure projects, we believe, that will start to get put online because there'll be capital to do that. And I think that will require a lot on the metals. I think we finally saw something happen in the Dow that needed to happen so that people could look elsewhere to be a bit more defensive. if you did put in 5% of your portfolio into gold during this crisis, or if you had a big natural resource portfolio, I know our stocks have done poorly, but if you compare them to how the stocks have come down, they've held better in this case, and a lot of them are up. I mean, Bebek is at a 52-week high, within $2 Canadian of a 52-week high as I'm talking to you today. Imagine if that was a big part of your portfolio during the Dow crash from 29,000 to 18,000, or 30,000 to 18,000. These are some remarkable things for just holding and actually going up. So I think the new standard for all of us to pay attention to is gold behaved as it should, and all of us consider it as a defensive mechanism in our portfolio. I think many fund managers were saved because they did hedge against the Dow with a gold position and silver positions. And lastly, you look at silver, it went up 40% roughly in the last week. That's amidst the Dow meltdown and everything that's, going to take some time to rebuild. So history repeating itself through crisis of correction in the Dow. I look back to 2008, and then I look also at what's going to happen next. And I think, there's no question that there's a big shortage of supplies of metals coming. And I think we were missing a huge amount of growth. I think it's going to be fueled by QE, which is going to be incredible for precious metals. And I think base metals will follow once these bigger projects get off the ground. So as a natural resource speculator and an investor, we waited for this moment for a decade, not for the virus, and that's, again, sincere condolences for people dealing with that. But I was waiting for the Dow to show people that the broken slot machine can actually be fixed. And now you can go over to the blackjack table instead of being at the slot machine, because now you know that it's not invincible, and people can, leverage less and invest a little bit more defensively and capture the rise of what's going to come in the commodity cycle.
All right. Let me just ask you, we're really basically out of time here, but Committee Bay, how soon will things start to get cranked up there? What's the time schedule on that?
So you're going to see a series of catalysts. Look forward to the PEA coming out of Homestake. We're going to come up with our targeting on the new way to target up at Committee Bay. We're going to have permitting advancements, very shortly after this lockdown is removed. And you're going to see a lot more news once we're allowed back in Peru. You're going to see a lot more news coming out of Peru. So I think you'll see the portfolio come to life. We've talked about SpinCo. A lot of these things we've mentioned. We're going to offer something to investors that other people are not offering. We're going to give you more than one ways to win off a portfolio where we've spent $100 million in the last 4.5 years trying to identify these substantial opportunities, and we're financed. So a remarkable opportunity in front of us for our shareholders. All
right, Ivan, we'll have to leave it go at that. Very exciting. Let's just get this coronavirus taken care of, and then we can start to see the drills turn again. That's what I'm looking forward to for Auryn Resources. Thank you so much for spending your time with us today, and we'll do it again sometime soon, Ivan. Take care.
Thank you so much. All right. Be very safe and be healthy. Thank you so much.